To start off our list, we have Malphite in the overpowered tier for the Baron lane. He's been consistently one of the strongest champions in the game, especially in lower levels of play. Malphite's passive grants him a very damage-absorbing layer of rocks, recharging after a period of time. This allows Malphite to trade very effectively since he always has a small cushion to fall back on. And of course, Malphite's ultimate ability, Unstoppable Force, is one of the greatest engaged tools in the game. I'm sure I don't need to go over what that does, but in case there's any newcomers to Wild Rift, Unstoppable Force launches Malphite's entire body to a target location at incredible speed, damaging and knocking up enemies. This skill is a fantastic teamfighting tool capable of effectively turning the tides of the entire game with a single great usage. He's in our overpowered picks because even if Malphite doesn't destroy the laning phase, all he has to do is time his ultimate usage properly to carry a game. And also, in case you're wondering, he is a fantastic champion to main, and if you're struggling to figure out who you want to main, check out our video on that topic here. Our next pick is Gragas in the A tier. He's pretty strong, offering a little bit of everything with his kit. By building pretty much full AP, Gragas relies on his high damage numbers to carry fights. His third ability, Body Slam, flanks him forward, colliding with the first enemy he comes across, dealing damage to and stunning all nearby enemies. This is an excellent ability for engage and crowd control. His ultimate, meanwhile, Explosive Cast, is also very useful, knocking back all enemies affected by the area of effect, thereby picking off vulnerable targets. This ability has a large variety of uses, as disengage, damage, and crowd control are all viable options. And since he's naturally beefier than other AP champions, Gragas is just a great pick. And our final pick for the Baron lane is Wukong, also up in the A tier. His laning phase isn't the best since he lacks the sustain and continuous damage output to trade against top-tier lane bullies such as Darius. But thanks to his incredible versatility, Wukong can more than hold his own during teamfights. His second ability, Decoy, grants him invisibility while leaving behind a clone, allowing him to slip by the enemy unnoticed. This clone mimics his ultimate ability, Cyclone, so abuse the invisibility to reposition to the center of the enemy team and effectively lock the entire enemy down with your ult. So here's our full Baron lane tier list. If you're gonna be a proper jungler, you gotta go fast. So our first pick is Rammus in the S tier. The Armadillo's passive grants him increased movement speed that builds up the longer he rolls, which allows him to both escape and close in on enemies with ease. Once he gets close to his target, the CC mayhem begins. Soaring Slam, Rammus' ultimate ability, tosses the champion in the air, scaling the area of effect damage and crowd control with movement speed. Thanks to Frenzy and Taunt, his third ability, champions that get close to Rammus are in for a beating as well, forced to continuously focus their attacks on the tanky Spike Ball. If Rammus has Thornmail, this makes for a devastating combo, reflecting damage passively alongside shredding the enemy's durability. Overall, he's a strong and simple champion to pick up. Simply roll around the jungle, build tanky, and lock down enemy squishies. Next up, we have Shyvana, also in the S tier. The half-dragon excels at AFK farming into her power spikes with one of the greatest jungle clears and dragon control priorities in the game. In Wild Rift, Dragon is one of the most important objectives. Securing this objective grants more than a small team-wide buff, but actually serves as a morale boost more than anything. Her passive, Fury of the Dragonborn, grants Shyvana bonus damage against elemental drakes. The more dragons she slays, the stronger she becomes, making her the best champion to secure drags. In addition, Shyvana scales into a high DPS bruiser carry in the mid to late stages of the game, utilizing her ultimate, Dragon's Descent, to transform into a dragon, which enhances all of her active abilities. This skill is really strong, but also just looks really cool. Finally, we have Rengar and Kha'Zix, both potentially being in the S or A tiers. As with all newly released champions, these placements in the tiers are purely early speculation, predicting their placement utilizing our pre-existing knowledge of their champion kit alongside the viability of the present meta. If you've been watching any of our past couple tier list videos, you'll know that Evelynn is OP since there's no vision control wards in Wild Rift. And since Rengar and Kha'Zix both rely on invisibility, these champs are highly likely to become powerful picks in patch 2.2B. Rengar can jump out of bushes thanks to his passive Unseen Predator, and Kha'Zix can jump at his target using his third ability, Leap. These make them both highly mobile, allowing them to engage incredibly fast. Kha'Zix deals bonus damage to physically isolated targets, rewarding picking out mispositioned enemies, while Rengar's base abilities prioritize single target damage. Their kits are parallel to one another, but definitely different mechanics. Once again, their specific strengths and weaknesses will become more readily understandable when they officially release on May 6th, but our analysts suspect that their burst damage will place them pretty high on the tier list. So here's the full jungle tier list. Ahri, the Nine-Tailed Fox, is up for the mid lane. Standing proudly in the S tier, the skill-shot-reliant AP carry is kind of powerful on this patch. Her third ability blows a kiss in the target direction, charming the first enemy hit. This forces the enemy to walk towards her, often resulting in a free kill for her team. Thanks for the mobility from her ultimate Spirit Rush, Ahri is capable of dashing into advantageous positions to optimize the likelihood of charming the enemy. And if she can't find the angle to throw out her charm, she can simply wait for somebody on her team to lock down the target first. The kit serves as excellent follow-up CC2, maximizing her team's coordination while increasing Ahri's own damage output. Next up, we have Katarina in the A tier. Despite being nerfed in patch 2.2b, the dagger-wielding assassin is beginning to perform exceptionally well in all levels of play. When she first came out, the lower ranks didn't quite understand how to utilize her kit, but all players interested in playing her now have had ample time to realize her burst damage potential. Thanks to her passive Veracity, which drastically decreases all of her ability cooldowns upon acquiring a takedown, Katarina is one of the strongest snowball carries in Wild Rift. When she plays from behind, she can be quite weak and easy to kill. Shutting her down early by abusing her vulnerability to crowd control effectively denies her from taking over the game. But if she does gain the early advantage by throwing her daggers while executing everybody that moves, she becomes an impressive hyper carry, taking full control over the tides of the game. The last champion that we have is Aurelion Sol in the D tier for this list. He's a very difficult champion to master since his entire kit is reliant on skillful positioning and well-timed roams. Without the knowledge to maximize these two variables, the Aurelion Sol pick kind of becomes useless. Keep in mind this is assuming players have not mastered him. Sol's passive Center of the Universe creates orbiting stars that deal damage upon impact. These stars are enhanced by his second skill, Celestial Expansion, increasing their damage and speed. If each orb consistently hits, Aurelion's DPS is fantastic. The issue is the hitbox of the orb's touch is not that generous, requiring pinpoint accuracy and positioning. Common a Legend, his third ability allows Aurelion Sol to fly over terrain, covering vast distances. When properly coordinated with proper wave clear and his jungler's presence, Sol's roams can be devastating, but he's simply outclassed by Galio, who can roam more effectively and also can clear waves faster than Aurelion Sol. So unfortunately, it kind of comes down to why play a Sol when you can just play Galio. So here's our full mid lane tier list. The first pick that we have for 80 carries is Jinx in our overpowered tier. Jinx is a very easy marksman to use, relying on her strong auto attack to dish out her main damage. Simply stand a safe distance away while using Switcheroo to adjust her autos to adapt to different circumstances. Minigun allows her to kite extraordinarily well, and Rocket Launcher synergy with Runaan's Hurricane allows her to deal fantastic area of effect damage during teamfights. Mixing her slow from Zap and Flame Chompers between auto attacks to provide some semblance of crowd control. And then of course snipe fleeing enemies with Super Mega Death Rocket. Do note that she's not overpowered in the high elo since she lacks escape options, creating a clear weakness for more experienced players to exploit. Tristana is finally feeling viable in patch 2.2b. Now in the A tier, her overall damage has become much more consistent thanks to the buffs to her third ability, Explosive Charge. Since this skill, when fully stacked, offers the most burst damage out of all of Tristana's abilities, Explosive Charge is very much the core ability that ties her entire kit together. In addition, her ultimate Buster Shots damage was also increased. She should now be capable of more consistently pulling off her leapfrog plays, hopping around the map with every takedown. And the last 80 carry pick for today is Varus, who received some love to his second ability, Blighted Quiver. The skill increases the burst damage potential of all of his skill shots, scaling with ability power, creating a very unique situation for the 80 carry. Since the skill scales with AP, the best way to build him is actually a hybrid of attack speed and ability power, potentially rushing Nashers and Rabadons as core items. In addition, his ultimate ability, Chain of Corruption, also scales very well with AP. If built correctly, Varus is easily an A tier pick for patch 2.2b, since his execution damage potential rises drastically with ability power. So here is the 80 carry tier list. And finally, we have supports with Leona up first in our overpowered picks. She has a point-and-click stun, a ranged area of effect stun, and a gap-closing snare, making for a whopping 3 total crowd control abilities in a single champion's kit. Since she received buffs in patch 2.2b to Zenith Blade and Sunlight being her third and passive abilities, Leona is officially a crowd control monster. The extended range on Zenith Blade means that she can engage more effectively onto her lane opponents, while the passive damage increase allows for stronger follow-up damage from her allies. Especially with burst damage assassins like Kazakhs and Rengar soon to enter Wild Rift, a tanky champion like Leona stands even more brightly, offering massive team composition utility. And the next champion up is Janna in the A tier. Once again, with the addition of Kazakhs and Rengar, the Janna pick is sure to be appreciated. Her first ability, Howling Gale, throws out a tornado that interrupts engages with a knockup. This effectively counters lots of gap-closing reliant champions, granting her team insurance and safety. Besides her ultimate, Monsoon, Janna doesn't offer support in the form of conventional heals. Her third ability, Eye of the Storm, gives her ally a barrier, shielding damage temporarily, requiring a firm understanding of timing and enemy behavior to effectively utilize. Since she's not the most intuitive support champion for everyone to play, she's actually ranked higher in our soon-to-come-out high elo tier list. And the last pick of the day is Lux in our A tier. Lux support is actually very easy to play, and don't get me wrong, it is incredibly viable. Keep in mind this isn't the infamous full AP Lux, but rather Prismatic Barrier max full support Lux. This ability grants a fat shield to both her and allies, assuming she knows how to hit the very simple skill shot. Synergizing with Harmonic Echo, throwing up Prismatic Barriers blocks huge chunks of damage while simultaneously healing nearby allies. Her first ability, Light Binding, is great at locking down enemies, and her base AP scaling allows her to deal pretty substantial damage without the need of conventional full AP items. So here's the full support tier list.